third session of poster designing. I hope you're all motivated and have practiced the concepts of last week. Today, we will hopefully be building upon those basic foundations as well as supplementing them with practical examples and sample posters. Therefore, this will be a slightly more extensive session than the previous two. Our speakers for today are Umar Mahar and Hajra Arshad. Umar is a first-year medical student in AKU. He has been doing Photoshop and poster designing for the past 6 years, which includes working for a wide array of societies in high school and in university. He is also the CTO of premed.pk, which is a recent student-led startup. His enthusiasm for tech has given him mastery in various other fields, such as programming and web developing. And of course, like most other techies, he prefers to spend his free time gaming online. Our second speaker is Hajra Arshad. She's from Al Khan University, batch of 2023. Her interests include designing, programming, and data analysis. Her vast skill set has allowed her to mentor at many workshops at AKU. Apart from that, she's also deeply fascinated by the workings of artificial intelligence, particularly with regards to its role in medicine, as she sees it as a potential place where she can contribute. So, in this session, we will begin by exploring the different features and fonts used in poster designing, as well as the common dimensions used in the posters that you see often on social media. Then, we will walk you all through the features by creating a sample poster on Photoshop and Canva. We will be finishing off by discussing the few aspects which really make or break your poster, which must always be kept in mind. So, without further ado, let's start this session. And as always, feel free to use your chat box for any queries that you might have. Thank you. Hajra, do you want to start? Are you here?
Yeah, so hello guys, welcome to the workshop. And so I'll be teaching you guys how to make a poster on Canva, and then Umar will take over and he'll teach you that how to make a poster on Photoshop. So I'll just share my screen. Yes, can you all see my screen? Is it visible, Taha?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, great. So let's start. So when you go over to Canva, you can just search it on Google and you'll find Canva on the website, on their website. So you'll see thousands of templates. You can make any kind of poster you want. Usually the posters are you could make posters for any kind of events. Yeah, किसी भी चीज के posters हो सकते हैं. And you can just search up the templates here, and you can find several templates for Instagram stories, posts, Facebook covers, presentations. You can even make videos. You can make business cards, collages, etc. You can make logos, posters, anything. So we'll be making a poster here, and I'll take you through each step of making it, and we'll see how it works. So I've opened up a template here, and we'll learn to make poster here. So basically, this is a template on Canva, and now we'll change it to a poster that is something that what we want. So we are making a poster for this workshop. So that it's just for an example, so that you guys learn that how to use Canva. So yeah. So let's start with the poster. And so basically, first I'll go through all of these components of Canva. First, we have the templates. You can choose any kind of templates you want. You can have like COVID-related posters. You could have any animated posters. You could have any posters for food, any sale posters, anything that is required for your need. And then we have chosen this template. So second thing is the elements. So first, let's edit this template. So I think if this font is like too not suited for my design, so we are making a poster related to this workshop, and I would like to change the font. So firstly, see both of these fonts are grouped together. So how do you ungroup it? You go here and you ungroup it. Now you can work on both of them separately. When they're grouped, you can work on them collectively. So you can change the font from here. You could choose any fonts that you like, and I'd like to choose something different. I'll just switch up. Okay, let's just choose this. And so we are making the post on this poster workshop. So I'll just change it to poster workshop. Another important thing is that don't use caps where they're not needed. Like I could write it on all caps and like this too. So like this is better because caps are only used when it's something very important. So you see that the line spacing is very less. So we could increase the line spacing here. You go here and you could, so there's a space between both the lines. Okay. And then you could decrease the size. Now this other one. So we could add any subtext that we want, like for the poster workshops, we are having Photoshop and Canva. So we could just add that. And we have changed the title. We can also change the title of our poster. That is from here. This will help in naming the poster. So we are making a poster on the poster workshop. Let's change this font too because it's too small and you cannot see anything. Just do this. Okay. Now let's move on to the next component, elements. Elements have several features. We could have any background, like this background is like a colored background. We could have anything else. We could have any graphic, like if you want to add this graphic, for example, and we want it on the whole background. Okay. Now we don't want it covering our components like the pictures, the text. So we select it and we send it to back. It goes at the back. Now still we feel like that it's too dark and we cannot see the title and the pictures, then we'll decrease the transparency, but it will lighten it. I think that's enough. Yeah. Then we move on to, so other than backgrounds, we have several other things, like we could add any kind of shapes, circle, square, any kind of shapes you want. We could add any graphics, like if you're making something related to education, we could add a book. We can add stickers. We can add, like, if it's something related to COVID, we can add a doctor. If it's something related to nature or any object, we could add anything. So for poster, we can add like a camera or something. So we'll just search it. Whatever graphic we want, we'll search it here. And all the available ones will appear here. So we're adding a camera, like we're adding this one. You can decrease the size. And you can arrange it anywhere on your poster. So we've kept it here. It's related to the poster, so just put a camera. Apart from pictures, we can add any kind of lines, shapes, graphics. Another thing is we can add charts. I'll show you how charts work. We don't need it in this poster, but we could need it in any other poster. Like if you're making a poster related to your research or anything, any stats you want to show, you could add a chart. Like I'm adding a bar chart. You'll open this up and you could add your data here and it will make a chart automatically. You could change the colors, text, the size, anything. You could even animate it, like you could have it coming from here, any kind of animation. So yeah, but we don't need it here, so we'll just delete it. Back to the elements. We could add audio and videos, but we don't need it in our poster, but we could add any video, like we could keep it in the background. And if you're editing a video, we can add any audios for it. And these are frames. So frames are important components. Like if you want to add a picture, we already have one here, but if you want to add another picture, you can add any frame. This is a circular frame and you can add any picture to it. You can add any kind of frames you want. You could have like a mobile screen. You could have something like this, anything. So these are frames. That's the main purpose of frames. It will help you put the picture in a specific shape. We'll just delete it. We might need a circle because we have 3 here. We'll be needing 4, so I'll add it later on and you can see too. So that's about the elements. Then we move on to uploads. So basically you can upload any picture. Here I have some pictures and you just click it and it's gonna come here and you could place it anywhere. We'll be using that too. Let's just go over the components first. Photos, you can add any available photos, like anything you might need. Any kind of photos could be added to. It could be a background, it could be related to charge, it could be nature, it could be a background, anything. You could just search it here and it's gonna appear here. Text, everyone knows that's basic part of the poster. So you could add a heading, you could add a subheading, you could add a body text, and you could add any kind of customized text like a glow or something like this. Any kind of customized text we can add. So for example, if I want to add like a sparkling text, it's gonna come here and you can edit to anything you would like. We don't need it here, I'm just showing it. So if you want to write poster workshop with the sparkling text, we can write it here and then we can replace it with this. Style. So styles are important since it helps you change the colors. You could change the color style and you could change the font style. So let's check the colors. So you could add this. So this, if colors are very important. So if it's like a poster for a hospital where you're telling someone about an emergency, or so you can make it red to make it bold enough. If it's like the poster we are making, it should be very vibrant and so that it attracts people. So we could use any kind of colors here. Let's just see. And we can also shuffle between these colors. These are pre-made combinations and we can just shuffle between them to see which one looks good on our poster. I think this one's good, or we can just change it. We can choose any of these. There are so many. We can just choose this, anything. So I'm choosing this one for now. The other thing is the audio. Audio I've mentioned before too. It's usually used for videos, and also the videos also used for videos. And there are so many video templates also. If you want to edit a video or make like a video, something related to videos, you could make it from here. कुछ marketing की video बनानी तो वो भी बन जाती है. There are pre-made templates for video. You can just search it, and बहुत सारे आ जाते हैं. सही है. Logos is if you have like for medtech, we have the medtech logo. You can just place it here and then you can easily add it to your posters. Folders are basically you could create folders for your convenience that later on when you use it, you can just create a folder and you could even share it with many people. So it's for your convenience. Just you can make a folder for your pictures, you can make a folder for your templates, anything you want. And then other are background. Background I've already shown you before. It could be like a colored background. It could be anything nature related, any pattern. If you want a color gradient, so like this, a gradient could come and on all over your background. So we're gonna just move to the back one. Yeah. So it's like that. You could add any pattern. It's gonna change the background to that pattern. So yeah, we can do that. And we can add logos, a logos logo. Chart view. So that's about the available components. Let's just edit our poster to something needed for us. So basically, this is a picture frame and a picture is added to it, and there's a circle below it. This is just for like designing. So I want both of them to move together. I don't want this one to move here when I move it or yeah, like Jaro, I don't want this. So what do I do to make them move together? I group them together. To group them together, you click on this one, you press shift, and you click on the next one, and you will get an option to group. You group them together. When you group them together, it's going to move together. And you can ungroup them anytime you select it, and you go here, you ungroup them. And when you ungroup them, you can just move them separately. Since I want them to move together, I'll just group them. And I've grouped them. So I want to change the pictures. I'll add the pictures of all the speakers. Like in the previous sessions, you had Manjar and Kantesh. Today it's me and Umar. So I'll add the pictures for all the speakers. So I've already uploaded it just to save time. So you drag the picture and you just put it in this circle, like picture I. You just drag it and put it in the circle, and it's going to go there. And if you want to edit it, you just double click it. You can zoom in, zoom out. You can adjust the picture. This is about it. So now we have like 2 or 3 circles, and we need 4. We're going to decrease the size. We're going to group this one too, so that both of them move equally. So now we have these two. Rather than decreasing the size of this one, we can just duplicate this one, and it's going to. So if you want something similar to this, so you can always duplicate any of the items on your posters. So I go here and you click on this icon, duplicate. It's gonna duplicate it. So it's duplicated. We need 4, so we're gonna duplicate this one too. Now we're gonna adjust them to make them come in one line. Also, what we can do is that if you feel like it's too small to see, you can just increase the size. This way it's easier to edit. So now all of them looks good. Now I have to change these 2 pictures. I'll just select the picture. It's gonna come here, and you can put it in any circle. And then you can edit it if you want to zoom it. You can fix the position. That's about the frames. So now, if you want to add names of each of these speakers, you can decrease the sign. And as you see, there's like a dotted line here. That means that both of these are grouped together. You can add it. That's why they're moving together, because they're grouped together. You can edit the name. So this is Kantesh. And he's an Ep3 student. You can add any kind of description you want. So the font looks a bit not suitable. We could change the font. We can have the font, change the font for this too. And since this look, we can make it smaller. to fit in one line. So we'll change the name for all of the speakers like this. So what we can do is the easier way and the shortcut. We can just duplicate it 4 times. You can also add the text from here. You can go here. You can add a subheading. And add a bit of body text. And we can group them together just so that it's easier for us to position them. And we can put it here. So the easier way was to just duplicate it, or we could do it this way too, adding text and putting it under the picture. We'll have to adjust the size according to this one, so just everything is same. And also the so now we have edited it. Now we can do the same here. We can just duplicate it and just change the name easier. Now there's, so back to fit, we can just click fit and it's gonna fit to size. So let's increase its thoracon. Okay. Now we want to, so this is the graphic that we added back then, this month. We can just change the color and we can just lighten it. Now we want to add the MedTech logo and we want to change this. We change it to, we can add anything like keep following us or anything. So one thing we have to keep in mind is that there are not like too many different fonts in the poster. You have to make sure that there are not more than 2-3 different fonts. So like we have used this one here and we have used this one here. So we'll just keep it at same here because other different hogi, so it doesn't look good. It looks all over the place. We can add this light one and decrease the size. We can make it a bit lighter because it looks dark. So we can always go to the colors and change it. We can go to the style and change it. So let's just keep it like this. Let's keep the light one like this, yeah. And since this is like now we need to add the logo. So the logo, like for medtech, we add logos. We can add any kind of lines and shapes. We have like, I'll just add it so that you guys can see how we use it. We could add like a dashed line, dotted line, single line. When you click on the line, you also get several options like you can increase the line weight. You can change the color, black, white, anything. You can even animate it, but we're not animating here. If you can make like a GIF or something, you can change the style. You could have it dotted, you could have the dashed one, you could have like a single line, anything. And you can just put it anywhere. If, like I'm putting it at the bottom just to make. You could increase the length. Now, if I want the same line here and also on the top, we can just duplicate it and drag it here. Now it's cutting our text. So what we can do is we right click it and we can always send it to back. And it's gonna go at the back and we can see the text now. Now we want to put like a logo. We can put the logo directly anywhere. Or another thing that we can do is we can just add like a light space here. We added a circle. We went to the colors. We changed it to the light color. We added there. Just decrease its size. And we can add the logo here. Now it's going at the back. We right click it and we're gonna bring to. So we have it here. We can add our Instagram handles, anything like that. Change the color to a bit lighter because it looks dark. Yeah, and we can also change this color to white or anything. Now we can add our Instagram handles or Facebook handles because since it's a poster, it's like poster for marketing our workshop. We can also add our handles here. Now you must have seen like in many posters there are like Facebook logo and Instagram logo, and then they have added their usernames. We can add that. We can go to the elements. We can search We want a Facebook logo, we can just search Facebook. You can decrease its size. Now we go to the text and we add in subheading. And we can add the metric. And we decrease its size. Increase the text size from there. And we can change its font similar to the ones we're using in the poster so that it doesn't look out of the. We can also add our Instagram. We go again to the elements and you can see, and so whenever you select an element, it's always going to give you magic recommendations according to your selection. Like I selected Facebook, so it's giving me logos for other social media websites. And if I select any other, it's going to do that for all the elements. So you can choose from those two. So we got the Instagram logo. We'll put it here. Our username is the same, so we can just duplicate it. Now there's still so many things we can do with this posters. We can change the colors, we can add text to it, like about the workshop, what was it? Like we had so many, we can add text about it. Regarding our participants, that we had almost 100 plus participants. And we had 4 speakers. But one thing we have to keep in mind is that we are not just putting too much text because it's nobody reads too much text. Everyone wants like poster should be brief and precise. Change the color and we can change the text. Change the text for this too. That font is similar to the rest of the poster and we can just add it here. So we can add more things to it, like if you want this line above on the borders, we can just duplicate it and add it. Like we go here, we can duplicate it and we can just add it anywhere we want. Like I've added to the top, we can add it on all the borders and we can search for borders as well on the elements. Like if you want any border, you can just search it here. Border. And it's gonna give you so many borders, you could use it for your posters. We don't need any border here, so I'm not using it, but we can always use it. Like you can put the text in the border, you can just, and you can put text in the border like this. You can put all of your poster in the border, anything you want. So we can still do so many changes to it. We can change the color, we can change text, we can change sizes, we can change fonts, we can still add more things to it. You can always change your posters according to your need. So that's how you make a basic poster here on Canva. These are all the elements and that's how you use all the elements. So my basic task was to teach you how to use all the elements and I hope you must have learned now how to use all the elements. So Canva is very easy. Anyone who even doesn't know how to make a posters, who doesn't know the basics of poster designing can always go on to Canva and make a poster. You can use any of their templates and make a poster. Now you can just download it from here, and it's gonna be saved on your PC. So do you guys have any questions? Taha, can you check? Is there anything on the chat? So if you guys have any question, you can post it in the chat, or how to make a poster in case of a research article. Yeah, you can. So basically, if you want to make a poster related to a research article, what you can do is, for example, you want to add your results of your research. What you do is you go to the chart, and you can add the charts. Like you can add your data here, that if your data was, for example, you can have like anything, apples or any fruits, like, and how many were they? We can have like 56. You can have like 20. So it's gonna change here. I'll just open up plain design so that I can show you how to make a poster. So yeah, this is a white background. I open it up just to show you how to make charts. So this is how you can make charts, and you can edit it. So it's gonna come here. You can place it anywhere on the poster. Other things you might need on a research poster is that you might need to add a link where it was published. So you can always add a text. And there's an option on Canva to link. Yeah, so you can use this option to link this to any of your uh, research article or anything. And other things you might need on a research poster is that you need to add the title of the research, you need to have details about the research, and if it's related to COVID or anything, you can add a bit of elements related to COVID and other things like that. And the basics remain the same. You need to look at the colors, you need to look at the text, you need to look at the font. So all of that should be in similar. Is there any other questions? So is there any other question related to Canva? So the assignment, we'll email you that. So for the assignment, you have to make a poster yourself and try these things out. And you can email us the poster. We'll email you about it and we'll discuss it and you'll get to know about it. Any other questions? So that's all about Canva. And if you still have any questions, you can always email us on our email, spy medtech email. You guys have it. So that's about Canva. Now I'll hand it over to Umar and he'll teach you how to make a poster on Photoshop. Thank you guys.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, hi. So I'm Umar Mahar, and I'll be teaching you sort of the basics of poster designing in Photoshop. And I understand you guys have already had sort of an introduction to Photoshop, so you're sort of aware with all the tools. And in this session, we're going to sort of like combine all the different tools and techniques you guys have learned in the previous two sessions, and we're going to build a proper poster in Photoshop. So let me just share my screen. Yeah, so I have a couple of posters which I've designed from before, and we're going to try to recreate these in Photoshop. So this is one of them. It's going to look a bit daunting and complex at first, but I'm going to sort of break it down for you guys. There's this one I made. There's this one. Okay, it's a bit simpler. Then there's this one, and I also made this poster for this workshop itself. So we're going to tackle all of these, and all of these have different components and different sort of tools and styles. So we're going to look at how to sort of make all of these. Okay, so sort of the basics of posters, you primarily have the background. Okay, so your entire theme or your style of your poster revolves around the background. Then you have the text. Then you have any photograph of the person or anything like that, but that's optional. And you sort of have graphic elements. Okay, so we're going to tackle all of them. So now I'm going to open up Photoshop, and to make a new file, you're going to go to File, New. Okay, and now here you're going to switch this to pixels if it isn't already, and we're going to be making a square poster because that's generally the format which is sort of accepted in all platforms, especially Instagram, because sort of vertical or rectangular posters, they don't really work well on Instagram. So I'm going to stick with a square poster, and square means the width and height must be the same. And I would recommend about 1,000 by 1,000, not anything lower because that would be too low less. So I made it 1,000 by 1,000, and I'm going to click create. Okay, so now we have a blank thing on Photoshop. And on here on the right, you can see your layers. Right now it's switched to the background layer, which is completely white. And before starting any kind of project on Photoshop, you'll see this little lock next to the background layer. I always like to unlock it. So you just double click on it, it will unlock itself. Okay. Sometimes it might open a prompt which says you want to unlock this layer, you always want to unlock the layer. And now you can see the lock has been gone. Okay. So we're going to start with the background. Okay, so we have a couple of different options for the background. The background could be an image, it could be a solid color, or it could be a gradient. Okay, so let's try with the image background first. Okay, so I have a couple of images ready. So here's an image I have for the background. I'm going to put it in here. You just drag it on from your file explorer, and you can see it's now placed here. Now you see it will already give you these transform controls. So transform controls allow you to resize, reshape, stretch, rotate your image. Okay, so you can see when I hover around the corners, it's going to be in rotate mode. I'll do that. And right, if I click on the corner itself, it's going to give me this option now. Unlike Canva, the default, when you try to move this, you can see it does not move in proportion, right? So you have to be very precise, but there's an easier way to do it. If you, on your keyboard, you want to hold shift, and when you hold shift, Photoshop preserves the proportion of the image you are trying to move around, right? See, now when I do it, it's preserving the proportion, but I want to sort of center this image also, right? So for that one, I'm going to do, sorry. Yeah, so I'm going to stretch it, and I want to stretch it from the center. So I'm going to hold both shift and alt on my keyboard, and you can see now it stretches from the center. So I'm holding shift and alt right now, and as I pull back, you can see it sort of nicely fills the center of the frame. And once you're done, you want to press enter. Okay, so now you can see the image is set. If you want to rotate or resize it again, or any layer, you want to click on the layer, press Control T, and you'll get these controls back, and then you can do whatever you want with them. Once you're done, again, press enter, and that's it. So now we have a background for this poster, right? Now, another kind of background we could have is a gradient background. Okay, so I'm going to open another file. Okay. I'm going to, now see, it already remembers I made 1,000 by 1,000 image before, so I can click that. If it's not there, you can obviously manually do it here. So I'm going to click create, and I get a white one. And once again, I'm going to unlock this background layer. You can see this time it asked me, so I'm going to click OK, and now it's unlocked. Now we can do a gradient background. So for the gradient tool, it's right here. Okay, now the gradient tool, it's basically you fade between two colors, right? It could be more than two colors, but we're going to keep it basic and only keep it to two colors. Now the colors, it actually shifts from are based on these two colors, right? So this is your primary color and this is your secondary color. So I'm going to set my primary color, okay? So I'm going to double click here, foreground color, okay? And I'm going to keep it to, let's say, sort this easy blue, okay? Now I've set that. Now you can see the gradient tool on the top. It's now fading from blue to black, but I want to fade it to something else. So I'm going to click my second color, which is the background color. I'm going to select this and let's try something pink. Okay. So sorry. Okay. Yeah. So now there are a couple of different kinds of gradients. Okay. So this is the linear gradient. You can see these 5 options here. Now, the way you want to do it is you want to click on a point and you want to drag it. So I'm dragging with my mouse or trackpad and I'm going to make a line. When I leave it, it's going to make this gradient. Okay. Now you can make it in any direction, anything. So now if I just do it like this, you can see it makes sort of these different patterns. Okay. So the way you draw the line, it sort of guesses based on that how you want the gradient to be. Okay. So I wanted, let's say, something like this. Okay. Something like that. Okay. Now there's other kinds of gradients. So this is a radial gradient. So it's going to be from the center and going out. So if I do it here. Okay, so you can see the center point is your primary foreground color, and your on the periphery or on the outside, it's the secondary color. So you can use these for different effects. Okay. And then there's this one, like I rarely use this, but you can sort of mess around with these, but I'm going to be sticking to the linear gradient. So I'm going to switch back, sort of make a line, something like this. Okay. Something like that. Okay. So we did 2 kinds of background. So we did an image. So you can download this from Google, any kind of image, and you can put it here, or you can make your own sort of gradient background. Or if you just want a solid color, you can just simply click the brush tool, put it to a nice big sort of pixel count. If I select, I choose a color. And sort of that. So that's a solid background. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be sticking to this gradient color. And that was just the pen tool. Okay, so pen tool, just a normal paintbrush. Okay, and I'm going to do it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about typography. Okay, so we've added an image. Now we're going to talk about typography. Okay. So let's start. So this is the text tool. Okay. And I'm going to drag it around somewhere here. Okay. And now I get sort of this option to enter text. Now there's a couple of options. Okay. Sorry, the zoom options are blocking this. Okay. So I'm going to click over here and it sees, you see this sort of text box. I'm going to expand it to cover the entire image like that. And now here you have a couple of options. You have the font you want. Okay. So generally speaking, like I like the fonts which are default on your computer. They really aren't that good. Okay. Some of them, like for the formal ones, are decent. Okay. But if you want a bit unformal look or sort of a rounded non-serif font, then you can download fonts from Google or whatever. And the way there's a website called Google Fonts. Okay. So you can type in any font and will actually show you all the different variants of it and stuff. You can download it very easily. Once you download, it will show up here. Okay. So there are a couple of good fonts if you want to write them down. There's Montserrat, there's Roboto, there's Poppins. Okay, so these are 3 really my favorite fonts. So I'm going to be using Montserrat. Okay, so you can see all of the different variants popped in. So we have thin, extra light, regular, medium, bold, whatever. So let's say I want to click black. Okay, black means the thickest possible font. Okay, so I'm going to click black now. And now I'm going to change the color. I want this text to be white. So I'm going to click here, right at the top. Color wheel, go white. Okay. And let's say I want to type in big sale. Okay. So I'm going to write big. And I'm going to press enter, new line, and press sale. Now you see sale didn't show up. I typed sale, but it didn't show up. That's because my text box isn't big enough, right? So I'm going to click here. And you can see it's right there, was there, but it was hidden because my text box wasn't big enough, right? So now we have big sale on this poster. I'm just going to resize it a bit. Okay, and you can see these are the alignment options right there. So I'm going to keep it to the center. Okay. Yeah, okay. So after this, we're going to be talking a bit about layer effects. Okay, so now we have this text, but it looks a bit boring. Okay, and I want it to pop out a bit. Okay, so the way you want to do that is you want to click the layer. Okay, big sale layer. And I'm going to go to these effects. Okay, so effects right at the bottom right. And we'll be using this a lot in this session. Okay, and I'm going to click here. And let's say I want to add a shadow to this text. Okay, so one of the main things in a poster, what a big mistake people make is that they don't have enough contrast between the text and the background. Okay, so one of the ways to do it is keeping a light background and a dark text or dark background light text. Okay, in this case, my text is sort of contrast is sort of fine. I have a light background, light text, but it's showing fine, but I want to pop it out a bit more. Okay, so there are two ways you can do it. You can either add a stroke or border to your text, or you can add a shadow to your text. Okay, and I'm going to show you both things. Okay, so I'm going to add a drop shadow to this text. Okay, and you can see immediately it popped up. The text is literally popping out. It gives it a bit of substance to it. Okay, and you can play around with these settings. So angle is what angle obviously the shadow goes in. I can play around with different things. Distance of the shadow, how far you want it to be. Okay, and you can create wonderful effects, custom effects with these. Okay, so I'm going to give it a very subtle shadow, just enough for it to pop out. Okay, something like that. Okay, now oh, I forgot to show you how to do a border also. So right next to drop shadow, I have stroke. Okay, and I'm going to add a slight stroke to it. Okay, now stroke color, the way you want to do it, I'm going to maybe give it a very dark, maybe almost pretty much black stroke. Okay, now it's not showing up properly because my opacity is how transparent your anything is. Okay, so in this case, the opacity slider is controlling how transparent your stroke is. Okay, so I'm going to put it all the way to 100, and you can see it instantly gives this very bold look. Okay, and here's the size. Okay, so I don't want it that big. Okay, maybe very subtle. Okay, something around that. It may not even show up on Zoom properly, but okay, I don't want maybe 2 pixels actually. So very subtle. Okay, and I've done that. Now our text, it looks a bit better. Now I want this text to be a bit more fancy. Okay, so I'm going to actually rotate it a bit. Okay, so I'm going to now, how do you, I showed this before also, how do you resize, rotate any layer? You do Control T. So I'm going to click on the layer. I'm going to press Control T, and now I can see the layer options, sort of transform options. So I'm going to go in the corner, and I'm going to rotate this layer a bit. Okay. Click Enter, and now it's rotated. Okay. Now I'm going to move it to the center. So I'm going to click the Move tool from the toolbar, and you can see Photoshop automatically gives me the guidelines, and I put it in the center. Okay. So now our text looks a bit better. Now we can make the text even more fancy. Okay, there's some more effects you can do. So you can click on the text layer again and click on the text tool, and you can see all these different text tools came back. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this text, and I'm going to go on this. Okay, so this is called wrapping text. Okay, so normally text is always in a straight line, properly arranged. Okay, and that's how normal text is, but we want it to be a bit more fancy. So we already rotated it a bit, but let's say I want to add some other effects to it. Okay, so actually let me unselect it. Okay, so you can see it better. Now I'm going to click warp text, and now you see this style option, right? So I can click on any style. So I'm going to click here, and let's say I want to give this text a bit of an arc. Okay, so you can see there's many different effects. Show them all to you, but let's say I give them arc. Okay, you see it automatically gives this sort of effect. Now I don't want it that big. Okay, so you can see you can play around with these. Okay, so I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. Okay, so this is all the stuff. So I can try in a different effect. So I can click on arc. I can, let's say, go on flag. Okay, you can see the text looks even weirder now, but whatever. So obviously in your poster, you don't want to have such exaggerated effects, right? But sort of subtle effects is what you want to go with. Okay, so I actually kind of like this thing. Okay, so it's sort of give this nice baby look. So I'm going to click OK. Okay. and I'll just make sure it's centered. Okay. And I think we have this nice sort of fancy text. Okay. Now looking at the background. Okay, so anything other than text. Okay, so I think we've done all for text. Now this is white text. As I showed you, can change the color very easily. Okay, something like that. I don't want this. Okay, so I can go back. So this was very quickly all about the text and stuff. Now you can do you can change sort of how much italics is, or whether it's light, thin, whatever. So you can do all of that from right here. Okay. Now, obviously, since this is my main heading, I do not want it to be this thin. So I'm going to go back to sort of my black thick font. Okay. So I believe that's all about text. I covered font, colors, everything. Okay. So now let's go back and sort of recreate the poster we were making. Okay. So this is the poster I want to make. Okay. And we sort of started with it. If I go back here, if you guys remember, we made this gradient. Okay. So it doesn't look quite the same. I haven't gotten the colors exactly right. Okay, but we're essentially going to recreate this. So now let's do the text portion. Okay, so we're going to tackle this image later on, but let's do this text portion. Okay, so we learned how to do text. Now this is a very simple text. It's actually not even using any effects, but let's do it. Okay, so I'm actually going to change the gradient to match the one I had before a bit. Okay, so it was very subtle blue cyan, something like that. Okay, go to the gradient tool as I told you before, and I'm going to make a gradient. Okay, so it's actually a bit too light, a little bit darker. Okay, so this sort of looks about the same. Okay, now keeping in mind this image, now we have this heading, which is going to be very easy to make, and then we'll come to this. So I'm going to go to the text tool. I'm going to make it a heading. Okay, and I'm going to make sure the font is appropriate size. I'm going to go left align, and I'm going to click here, click white. Okay, and now I can start typing. So I can write join us for this live. Okay, something like that. Now this text is a bit too thick for me, so I'm going to go over here, make it maybe bold a bit, sort of make it a bit thinner. Okay, and you can see it's now sort of in line. Okay, now coming back, so now we have this text. Now you must be wondering, like, this text, I sort of added this rectangle of white around the text. Now how do you do that? So Photoshop has, you can add a couple of default basic shapes in it. So I have the rectangle tool here, and I'm going to click the rectangle tool, and I'm going to make a rectangle over here. Okay, now the rectangle's here, and I can see the is what controls the color of the rectangle. Okay, and I can sort of change it to anything I want. This is fine. Okay. And press enter. Now we have this rectangle. Now you can probably see it's not well aligned. There's a bit of a gap here, and I don't want that. So again, how do you resize any layer or change its position? You press Control T, and I'm just going to make it a bit go out, and so just change it a bit, something like that. Okay. So now we have this. Now we can take our type tool again, and I'm going to place it on top of here. Okay, so let's write. Now you can see I'm typing, but it's not showing, and this is a problem a lot of you may have when you're doing this on your own. So the reason is, you can see the font is white because it's picking up the foreground color. So I'm going to delete this text. You can see the text is there, but it's white. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to click on a nice red color. Something like that. Okay, so the color selection in this poster isn't good, but you guys should fix that. Let's say Dr. Okay, whatever. Okay. Now, I'm going to choose a different font for this. Okay, I'm going to choose this. Okay. And I'm going to sort of larger now. Now here's a problem with this text. Okay, it's a bit too squished together. Okay, so you see these letters are too squished together. Okay, so now how do you change that? Now you can see right here I have this character tab open. Okay, this has sort of the advanced formatting options for text. Now some of you may not have this open. By default, you want to go to window and you want to go to character. Okay, so you can see mine is ticked. That's why I have it here. You just, if you're doing this on your own, you just want to click character and it'll pop up. Okay, so I'm going to drag this, and this right here, this tool which sort of has this arrow, I'm going to very gently nudge it a bit. Okay, and I'm just going to give this text a bit of breathing room. Okay, so I have about 40. Okay, so you can see I've just given this text a bit of breathing room, and yeah, okay. Now I just want to align this a bit better, so I'm going to click on the move tool and sort of try my best to align it. Press control. Oh, sorry. Photoshop's messing up. It's too much space. Yeah, I don't know why it keeps doing this. And let's scrap this layer. Actually, sometimes Photoshop's just being weird. So I'm going to delete this layer. Delete layer. Okay, let's just quickly make this again. And I'm going to drag it into place. Just a second. So just leave it at that. Okay. Now you can see based on the original poster, there was sort of this line underneath this also, right? So we can, now we don't have to recreate this, we can just duplicate it. Okay, so I have these two layers. You can see one layer is for the rectangle and the other layer is for the text. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate these layers. So I'm going to click on one, then I'm going to click Shift or Control, your choice, and click on the other. Now you can see these two layers are selected. I'm going to right click and I'm going to click duplicate layers. Okay, so duplicate layers right there. Okay. Now, again, you can't see the effects because both of them are sort of on top of each other. Okay, so I'm going to click the move tool and I'm just going to move one below the other, align them. Okay, this one I can perhaps write anything, let's say workshop. Okay, something like that. Okay, so this is sort of that typography done. Okay, so I think we're done sort of talking about all the different text and stuff. So we, in this particular case, we discussed about this advanced character tool options. Okay, so coming back to this image, so you can see we have this portrait of a person in black and white. Okay, so how do we sort of cut, how do we get this sort of effect? Okay, so let's talk about that. So I actually have a different image for this. Here. Okay, so I've portrait of a random picture I got on Google. Okay, and I'm gonna paste it, bring it to my, open it in Photoshop. Okay. It's not opening it for some reason. Let's see. Okay, let's then just pick this image directly. Okay, so Now, now you can see we have to not only cut the person out of this picture, but we also have to make it black and white. Okay, so I'm going to start making it black and white. And before I do that, I'm going to unlock the layer as usual. Okay, I've unlocked the layer. I'm going to go to image. Okay, I'm going to go to mode. Okay, and I'm going to click grayscale. Okay, so that's going to convert the image directly into black and white. Okay, and the image went to black and white. Okay, now the image is black and white. Now I'm going to cut this person out of the image. Okay, so the way, now there are multiple ways to do it. I like to use the, where it go? Okay, so you want to right click, you want to click this quick selection tool. Okay, and you can't see it because it's too small. I'm going to make it a bit bigger. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so that's decent enough. Okay, and this tool is a bit smart. Okay, it can sort of tell what you're selecting. Okay, so I'm going to select everything but the background. Okay, and you can see it's sort of doing a decent job. Now you want to spend quite a bit of time on this. Okay, I'm going to do a very quick job. Now you can see it suddenly decided to select the entire image. You can see that because of the dotted lines. So I'm going to control Alt Z out of there, sort of very carefully try to select. Okay, so it's not behaving. So let's try something else. Okay, so you can see now we have this person selected. Okay, now I'm going to copy paste this selection into the poster we were making. Okay, so before I do that, I'm just going to come now. We made this selection, you can see, with sort of the dotted lines going across, right? And thing is, when I'm going to copy paste this now, it's going to be a very rough and hard border around the image. Okay, and I just want to make it a bit soft. So I'm going to go in here on select. Okay, I'm going to modify my selection I've made, and I'm going to click on feather. Okay, now what feathering does, it sort of does not smooth per se, but it sort of makes a bit of the outside transparent very slightly. Okay, and that sort of gives this smoothness appearance. So I'm going to put it at very small 3 pixels, and I'm clicking. Now you won't notice anything, but now it's applied that effect. Now I'm going to click Control C or copy. I've pressed Control C. I'm going to go back to my poster. Okay, and I'm going to paste it in. Okay, now you see it's pasted it, but it's off axis. It's not where I want it. So I'm going to, as usual, press Control T. Okay. Okay, you can see it's massive image. So I'm going to scale the person down. Okay. So you see the proportions are a bit messed up, but let's fix that. Okay, see now we have this sort of align and we can put it anywhere we want. Okay, so I put it here. Okay, so you can see the edges is still a bit crude. You want to spend more time sort of perfecting the selection. Okay, and maybe feathering it a bit more. But see now we have this sort of decent thing going on. Okay, so now we're pretty much done with this poster. I'm going to come back to how to add the logo next. Okay, so before moving on, I want to briefly touch on this poster. Okay, now the main effect in this, you can see, is the very beautiful sort of border gradient and this middle texture. Okay, so I'm going to now make this one. Okay, we'll add the logo just in a sec for this one. So I'm going to click new. Okay, and I'm going to go in here, click 1000 by 1000. Okay, unlock the layer. Now, so we first want this gradient to happen. Okay, and in this one, I'm actually, yeah. Okay, so as usual, I'm going to start with the gradient tool. Okay, and this time I'm going to select my colors. Okay, so let's say And let's say oh yeah, so I made a small mistake. I'm still in grayscale mode. Okay. So I need to go to image mode. Okay, so because I made that image grayscale, it sort of defaulted to making every new one. So I'm just going to put this back to RGB color. Okay. Delete this layer. So, okay, I think it's still defaulting to that. So let's just make a new image. Okay, so make sure my image type is RGB. File new. Okay, and you see here it's defaulted to grayscale. I just want to put it to RGB and make it 1000 by 1000. Yeah. So now when I put my gradient on, it actually is colored. Okay, so something like that. Okay, now I want to go from here to here. So here the gradient is actually a border, it's not the background. Okay, so the way you want to do this is I'm going to actually make a white rectangle on top of this, creating the illusion it's a border. Okay, so let me just unlock this layer. So I'm going to go on the rectangle tool, or actually, right there, rectangle tool. Okay, and I'm going to hold Shift and Alt, and that's going to make a square. Shift and Alt. Okay, so right there. Now this square, I'm going to turn it to white. So I'm going to go to fill, and I'm going to select white as my fill. Okay, and now it's white. As usual, to make something, to transform something, I'm going to press Control T, and I'm going to, let's say, make it something like that. Okay, so you see now it gives the illusion that we created a gradient border. Okay, now you want to fix the proportions up a bit, but this is how it goes. Now and we already learned how to do this text and stuff. Okay, now how do we get the text to also share this gradient color? Okay, so we never did that, so let's do it quickly. So I'm gonna click on text. Okay, it's a bit too big. Let's turn it down a bit. Okay. Okay. And I'm gonna maybe put it to Poppins this time. Yeah, Poppins install. Let's just do Monster. Okay. And I'm just gonna put it to. Now I see it's not gradient. Okay, just picking the primary color. It's not the gradient. Now, how do we do that? So I'm gonna click on this text layer, and you can see the effects options. Okay, I'm gonna click on effects. Okay, and I'm going to click gradient overlay. Okay, so what this is going to do, instead of making the text a solid color, it's going to put a gradient across the text. Okay, and here I'm going to go on my gradient option, and I'm going to click this recently used gradient I used for the background, and see instantly you can see the text now shares the same gradient as the background we made. Okay, and this sort of resembles this. Okay, and I've done the same with this text right here. Now, one thing you'll notice with this is that if I zoom in a bit, there's a very slight sort of texture going on. Okay, it's some random doodles of medicine stuff. Okay, and I want to add this to, let's say, this poster. Okay, so I want to add, I don't want a plain background. I just want to add a bit of texture. Okay, so I have the texture ready. I believe, let me just check. Background. Okay, so here's this health texture. Okay, so I'm going to bring it in. Okay, now here's the problem. It's covering, it's on top of everything. Okay, so I want it to be between beneath the text. Okay, so I'm going to click it back, and now it's still covering sort of our border. Okay, so I'm going to resize it and press Control T, and I'm just going to resize it so it fits nicely in the middle. Okay, now problem is it's still too much. Okay, it's too it's too dark or black. So I'm going to lower down the opacity or transparency of it. So I'm going to click the health texture layer, and here's the opacity slider. And I'm just going to bring the opacity way down. Okay, so it's a very subtle thing. Okay, something like that. Okay, and I'm just going to now rotate it a bit. Okay. And something like that. Okay, and you can see it now sort of matches what we've done here. Okay, and you guys already know how to put simple text and this. Okay, and this gradient again was done the same way I did that. Okay, now the most difficult sort of background piece we want to do is this crazy thing. Okay, so you can see in this one, it's this very sort of curved background. It's colored, it has an image in it. Okay, so this is a bit sort of the most complex background we're going to do for today. Okay, so it's not that difficult. Again, I'm going to click on file, click new. Okay, so here I'm again, the point of this sort of tutorial is I'm not going to be teaching you how to make like one complete poster, but I'm teaching you techniques which you can then apply in making your own designs. Okay, so again, 300. So once again, unlock the layer. So what we're going to be replicating in this one is this sort of thing. Okay, so I'm going to make sort of the same thing. So first, what we want to do is we're not going to start with an image. We're going to start with a solid color. Okay, so I'm going to go here, find my pen tool. Now this pen tool, okay, and specifically I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose the curvature pen tool. Okay. Now once I've chosen the curvature pen tool, I'm going to start a bit from the outside. Okay, and I'm going to make a very rough version of that. Okay, and I'm going to complete the shape from the top. Okay, that doesn't matter, but okay, once I made the shape, I'm going to go here and I'm going to click shape. Okay, I'm not going to click mask, I'm going to click shape. Okay, and it now fills it nicely. You can make all sorts of different patterns you want for this. Okay, and I've chosen to sort of replicate what I did for that poster. Okay, and I'm just going to play around with this just a bit. Okay, just that's about how I want it to be. Okay, that looks about fine, and I'm going to click enter. Now we're still a bit far away from what this poster is doing. Okay, so in this poster, not only is it a blue color, you can see there's an image in the blue color. Okay, now how do we do that? Now I have an image here, which I'm going to open up. Okay, and it's this Khan image. Okay, and I'm going to put it in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to resize it so it fits sort of about the sort of this abstract shape I've made. Now here's not complicated, but here's a trick we have to do. I'm going to right click on this image and I'm going to click on create clipping mask. Now what this feature does is, now if I disable this layer, you can see I have this shape. When I click / create clipping mask, what this will tell Photoshop is that I want the shape of this photo to be the same as the shape of the layer beneath it. So you can see, right, it's a bit complicated. So the layer beneath this photograph is the shape layer I've made. Okay. On top of that, I've put this Archon picture. On the Archon picture, I'm going to click right click, create clipping mask. The moment I click that, it's going to confirm, like make the image conform to the shape of the layer beneath it. Okay, so that shape I made, you can see it's now following the shape of that. Now I'm just going to make, now it's the image is there, but once again, the image is very slight. I actually have a color overlay on it. Now that's very easy. I'm going to click on the image, go to FX, go to color overlay. Okay, that pop up, and I'm going to add a green sort of Archon theme color on it. Okay, so you can see, and I can play around with the opacity for what kind of, how much I want. Okay, and I think about sort of this much looks fine. Okay, and now we have done that, and now once again we can add some text to it. So on text tool, I'm going to again choose white for this one. Okay, and I'm going to, let's say, click Again, text is not showing because my text box isn't big enough. I'm going to drag it till it is. And I'm going to say lower the size a bit. Khan Hospital. Okay. And once I've done that, I can click here. Now, again, if you want your text to sort of pop up a bit, I can always click on the text layer, go to effects. I always like putting a slight shadow to my text. So I'm going to click that and just slight shadow. I don't know. Okay. So you can see it just gives a bit of depth to your poster. Okay. And you can add whatever text you want. Now, another feature of this poster is that we have a person, an image of a person, and it's sort of encapsulated in the shape. Okay, so this is similar to what you did in Canva, where you put an image in a circle. So I'm going to just do the circle also. Okay, now we're going to use the same technique we did for this image and conforming it to this random shape. So I'm going to first go to the circle or ellipse tool, click shift, so it makes a circle. Put it here, and now we have this circle. Okay, so let's say I want the image of the person to go here. Okay, now let's say I want to put this image wasn't working, so let's say do I have it downloaded somewhere? Okay, so let's just roll with this image then. Okay, now again I'm going to put the image on top, and I have the ellipse right in the layer below. I'm going to right click, create clipping mask. Instantly it conforms it to the circle we made earlier. On the layer itself, I can adjust it as I need it, similar to how we did in Canva. Okay, and done. Now, here's the thing. Now, let's say I want to now move this. Okay, I'm late in the poster making and I want to just change the position a bit. Now, if I move the image, well, it just moves it here. It's not doing what I wanted. If I move the ellipse, sorry. There you go. You can see the image is now not moving with it. Okay, so how do I solve this issue? Well, there are a couple of ways to do it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to link the layers together. So I'm going to click both of them, right click. Okay, and you can do group from layers or link layers, both work. I'm going to click group from layers. And now it's simply, and I'm going to click this picture. Now I've essentially made a group from these layers. Okay, and you can see those layers are now here. Now all I have to do is move this group. Okay, when I move this group, all layers beneath it move together, and I can place this image wherever I want. Okay, that's very simple. So one last thing I have to teach you guys is how to sort of put logos or these vector arts and stuff. Okay, so let's say now I want to put this Khan logo. Okay, so I can simply drag it here. Okay, and now this is very convenient that the image I had a white background, and here I have a white background too. Okay, but let's say we don't have this. You can see in this poster, there's a very slight polka dot or dotted pattern in the white, okay? Because I didn't want the white to look that boring, so I added that. I can do the same here. So I'm gonna go, I have this dotted pattern somewhere. There you go, dots. Now, once again, you can see how the dots here. Okay, and I'm going to now they're covering the image itself, because I'm going to put them all the way below. Okay, I'm going to drag them right beneath my shape layer, and you can see now they're there. Now again, they're too the opacity is too much. I'm going to lower the opacity. Okay, see, now it gives this very nice slight effect. Okay. Okay, now Now let's suppose I add my Archon logo in here. Now you see the problem is the Archon logo, it has a white background. It doesn't have a transparent background. Okay, so this image I download from the internet, you can see it has a white background. So it's not letting the polka dot pattern beneath it showing up. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to remove the white background from this logo itself. Now, how do we do that? So I'm actually going to delete it from this project. Okay, I'm going to delete the layer. And I'm actually going to open it separately. So I'm going to go to File, Open. Okay, and I'm going to zoom in a bit. Now, there are a couple of ways you can remove a background from an image, right? Now in this one, I can see what do I have to remove? I have to remove white. Okay, so a cool trick I can use here is I can go to Select, and I'm going to select a color range. What this means is you're telling Photoshop, I want you to select all parts of the image which have this color. Okay. Now, what color do I want to select? I want to select the color white because I want to remove it. So I'm going to click with my eyedropper tool. I'm going to click white. Okay. And this is sort of preview. So anything in white, which means it's selecting it. Okay. So now you can see the dotted lines have now appeared. They're now covering white. Okay. They've selected all the white text. When I press the delete button on the keyboard, okay, you can see it instantly disappears. Okay. Actually, I want to unlock this layer before. See that's why you should always unlock the layer, deselect it. Okay, it's bugging out. Let me just do it again. That's why you should always unlock the layer. Okay, so some reason not letting me unlock it. Okay, I'll deal with this later. Anyways, I'll go back to select, color range, that. Okay. Now I'll recap, sorry, a bit. So I now selected everything in the image which is white. Okay. But now what I want to do is I want to copy actually not the white part, but everything else. So I'm going to right click on it with my selection tool and click select inverse. So first we selected everything white, and now we do select inverse. It's now selecting everything which isn't white, and that's what we want. And now when I press Control C and go back to here, you can see it sort of brings it in here. And you can see now it doesn't have that white background anymore because we removed it. And now I can put it anywhere here. And actually the polka dot is still a bit too much. So I'm going to reduce the opacity to maybe, let's say 15%. Okay, now that's done. Now let's say I want to add a Facebook logo. Okay. So now I want this Facebook logo to be in green because that's sort of the theme of this poster I'm building, right? So I'm going to click, I'm going to add, again, it separately into a separate window. I'm going to use now, unlock the layer. I don't know why it's not letting me unlock the layer anymore. Again, never mind. So I'm going to go select color range. Now I want to select everything which is blue. Okay, so I'm going to go here, select blue. You can see it very nicely detects it. Okay, and now it's selected. Okay, now I want to change this blue to a green, right? So I'm going to click over here, go to green. Now it's basically now created sort of a mask or a stencil, and it won't let me do that because the layer is. Just a second. There we go. Finally, lets me unlock it. Okay, so now we have it back to an unlocked image. So I'm going to select color range, click blue. Then once it's selected, I'm gonna click on the brush tool, put green in here. Okay. And simply do that. Okay. And now I can, while selecting this, I can do Control C, go back to my image, press Control V, make sure to bring the layer up a bit. Okay. And I can now resize it however I want. Okay. So now obviously this is not a great layout for a poster, but I'm basically teaching you the techniques which you can use in your own poster making. Okay. I'm going to zoom in a bit, and then like in the last poster, you can sort of add your handles or whatever. So maybe like at AKU, something like that. Okay. Maybe make it very thin. Okay. So this is sort of the technique of how you want to do it. Okay. So I think we're over time and we've pretty much covered everything. So if you have any questions, please feel free to type it in the chat. Okay, so I don't think there are any questions. If anyone does have it, you can always email us. Okay,
Yes.
And that's
I just
about
wanted
it.
to add a few things. So guys, like as we went through both the Canvas and the Photoshop, but what you guys can do is like some of the times the templates which are present on the Canvas, but there aren't any those range of tools available on the Canvas. But if you see like Photoshop, there's a wide range of tools available on the Photoshop that you can do, and you have a greater freedom. So what you can sometimes do, like you can take a template, you can download it, and then you can reuse it or reinvent the things on that poster or that template, because the range of freedom that you get on the Photoshop is much greater than the Canvas, and the effects and the tools that are available on the Photoshop are more. But the basic layout which can be made in the Canva, that can be easily imported into the Photoshop, and that will make a lot of things easier when you go on making poster and you have a less time. So I think that's what I wanted to add, but if you guys have anything else, you can ask us. Yeah, so here we go. We end it over here. Thank you for joining. And Umar, do you want to say about the assignment?
I'm not sure of the details, but I believe you guys will be emailed about it, and then you can choose to, if you need any help, you can always email us.
Yeah, so for the recordings, we are planning something to upload on the recordings, so we can upload it somewhere, and we will email you the source where we upload the recordings. Most likely it would be some YouTube channel or another website. So we will let you guys know about the recordings whenever we upload. We will email you the details and the source these are available on.